pleasure seeing so many people here to talk about industrialization of AI in the banking and insurance industry in specific. So the question we are going to address is, what is the right architecture in order to transform the back office in the insurance and banking industry? And so, as you know, in banking, in insurance, we are building companies for the long term. But it's not because we are building for the long term that we don't have to face crisis at some point with very high volumes to cope with. And this can mean a natural disaster. It can also mean just a change in regulation that transforms the company, or also a very big commercial success where you are selling much too many deals, and so you have to cope with it. And so every time you are facing a crisis, you rely on the backbone of our industry, which is the back office. The work of the back office is to handle, at the same time, for one people, sometimes hundreds of processes that are very technical, varying a lot, where you have to mobilize the right expertise, and when you are getting pressure from inside the company and outside the company to go faster, and you have to stay compliant. So how can you, with AI, facilitate the life and work of people at the back office, and considering the complexity of a task? So my name is Pierre Magrangeas. I'm an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur in AI for 10 years now, deploying solutions for various industries. And so I founded Lextbe.ai, which has partnered up with the best universities in the European Union in order to train SLMs that are very precise in doing exactly this job. So we are already doing this in production with lead companies in the banking and insurance industry, especially Allianz, Caisse des Dépôts recently, and ProCapital from Arkea. And we are also working in the household industries for companies like CDC Habitat. So the complexity of doing the back office job is that all of the work of the company is based on very structured data. You want to value your contracts as much as possible, understand how you can optimize features and business decisions, and for that you need extremely structured data. The difficulty is that the data that comes in the company is really not structured at all. You have, in the beginning you had letters, then you had emails on top of letters, you still have letters, and then you added the digital workflows that come on top of email and letters, because there are always exceptions to handle, so you have to handle all of these channels at the same time. And so in order to be able to do that precisely, there is a third layer of software that was pushed on top of these two layers, which is the workflow layer that adds a lot of work in order to follow what everybody is doing and cope with the risk that is inherent with back office work. And so is it possible to add a fourth layer, which would be an AI layer, in order to work with all of that? We think the right architecture to do that is not to add a fourth layer, but to put the third layer at work. The workflow layer at work to do the job of the unstructured data handling. So this is the architecture that we have built at Lextbe, and we advise you to set up an architecture where you can describe your workflow to the tools that are handling all the influx of information, email, letters, documents, so that the AI can automatically push the workflows forward as much as possible and distributes the remaining tasks to the people who can deal with exceptions and who have a very specific expertise to complete the process. So in the end, you have a much simpler architecture with, on one side, the structured data softwares, where you can optimize the value of your contracts for the long term, and the unstructured data handling, where you have to handle a lot of documents, a lot of email, and you have to ensure the data is immediately available in your structured database with as little manual work as possible, especially when you handle crisis with thousands of documents and emails coming in at the same time. So in banking and insurance, it's particularly complex to do that. You need to process very long contracts, files, claims, very high volumes of documents. You have a need for operational efficiency with more and more precious to be productive that is being put on the back office. And well, you have to improve the customer experience because there is growing competition to everything that we are doing. So what are the criteria for a CIO to make a decision? and to drive the transformation for their organization. So they have to think of something that can be easily integrated with their existing tools, because the structured data will still be handled by the software that is the right one to do that. So you need to integrate seamlessly to ensure that the data flows in without effort. You need to be able to handle a large variety of processes. Some of our customers want to handle more than 20 different business processes with 200 document types and thousands of information to extract when they handle their processes. And so you need a way to handle all this complexity and put it in your databases in a very standardized way without deploying many different tools to handle different situations. And so once this is deployed, you need to be sure that the users in the company will be willing to leave the transformation and to really use the power of AI. So for that, you need to have the trust of the people who are the back office workers. So they need to know the value of the information that the AI provides. So the AI needs to justify everything, and you need to be sure that alarms are raised whenever there is something that looks a little bit off. And you need also to be in control and say, okay, some processes I want to have full manual control, others I just want to check when there are some exceptions and I want to handle them. You also need to have simplicity, because you have users that are not used to using AI, that are not used to using new complex infrastructures or software. So you need to have something very easy, seamless to start working and to process your complex processes. And you need to be sure that the AI is creating value, not destroying value, so that whenever you need to have the human completing what the AI does, you can have the right collaboration between human and AI so that all processes are handled the right way. So I think everybody in your company is now using LLMs. But a big news today is that LLMs are not the right technology in order to deploy that. Because LLMs are extremely expensive to handle and they make mistakes. So is there an alternative? Well, actually, there is an alternative that is very strong in the European Union. It is small language models. So these models are trained so that they can work on a large variety of documents, of processes, with much more precision. We will publish a study very soon with the University of Florence showing that you can have 3 times more precisions on business processes handling when using this type of model. And the good news is that these models are 100 times less heavy to handle. So that means, again, in pricing, but also in speed when you have to do the calculation, and the capacity to deploy your models anywhere you want them to be. So 2 very important things can be handled the right way. It's sovereignty. You can have models that are deployed inside your own infrastructure, so you really are an owner of your process, and you know exactly what comes in, what comes out, and hopefully you don't have to have anything come out at any step of the process. And also you can reduce your carbon footprint by having models running that consume 100 times less energy. So this is a good impact for the carbon footprint, but it means also that it's scalable. Because for now, if you want to use LLMs at a very high scale, we don't have enough energy to make them run. And so you need, in the future, you will need to be limited. So Lextbe is a tool that has been built exactly for this purpose, for working with European Union companies that want very high sovereignty, that want to be beneficial for the environment, and that want to be extremely efficient at what they do, and really own the data that they process. So this is built because we have partnerships with leading universities, the 3 leading universities in AI in the European Union, and that because we are working with people that are from the banking and insurance industry, in our team especially, and so we are able to adapt to the complexity of this specific world. So now is the time to start acting. Now is the time to start deploying AI and prepare the back office for the next crisis. And so come to our booth in the finance area, and then we can discuss specific use cases as you need.